black because that's what I had in stock. That and orange. And the last 10 fucking small blocks I've built, I've painted orange, so kind of oranged out for the moment anyway. So laid down some VHT gloss black. Don't look bad. The gold, black and gold always looks good together. Got my gold core plugs in there. Freeze plugs, core plugs, whatever the fuck you want to call them. New oil filter adapter installed. I'll keep everything, all the machine surfaces unpainted. That's the first thing I do when I build an engine is I paint the motherfucker. I clean the shit out of it, and then I paint it. And then I put the fucking freeze plugs in it. And then I proceed to the next phase. But I see people build engines and they put the whole fucking engine together and then mask shit off and paint it, and it always looks like shit. If you up close and you're looking at it, it looks like shit. I hate painted bolts. I don't even really like bolts. I prefer studs in most shit. But I don't like them painted. Keep everything the color it is. Use studs in the timing cover also. Got your water pump mounting surface is fucking clean enough to eat off of. These fucking freeze plugs. The old method, I was told years ago, you get your biggest fucking sockets you can find that'll fit in there with a tight fit. And you just whack them bastards in till they're about level with the surface of the block. And I've done plenty of them like that. But the trouble with that shit is, I built fucking shitloads of engines for a long fucking time. Always had 5 to 10 engine builds going at any given moment for the last, since I was a fucking kid. So I've built a lot of fucking engines. And the more engines you build, the more you notice trends and patterns and shit. And I've had freeze plugs just magically fucking fall out of my fucking block, just pop out, for no particular fucking reason. Glue them in there and shit, with some shit, but used to, I'd just pop them in fucking dry, because that was what I was also told. And sometimes I allowed to come out and goddamn freeze plug just popped out for no particular fucking reason. Drained all my damn coolant out. So I figured out a better way. I made me a fucking tool that's exactly the same diameter as these fucking plugs. You put that motherfucker on there. You whack that bitch in there, and it drives it in on the outer edge instead of in the center. Because when you hammer in the center of that motherfucker, you're actually drawing the outer edges in so it makes it have a looser fit. I mean, you might get away with it, you might not. It might last forever, but just my little tip of the fucking day is you want to drive them bastards in on the outer edge and use some of this shit. But I don't put it on the fucking freeze plug itself. I put it in the block, in the hole, because you put it on the fucking freeze plug, you go to hammer it in there, and all the shit's just gonna come to the fucking top and make a big goddamn mess. Look like shit and be pretty much fucking useless. So you put the shit, got a brush in that bottle, you put the shit in the block itself, and sometimes I might smear a little on the bottom edge of the plug before I drive them in. But that way, when it's drove in, it pushes the fucking sealant in, and you get a much cleaner installation. You know, you don't see no big fucking goobers of sealant hanging out around them fucking plugs. They're all clean, the way they should be. If you install them like that, you drive them in on the outer, they make a fucking tool for that shit, but you know, you can make a fucking tool yourself if you got any goddamn sense about shit. It's not hard to figure out, you know. You need to pound them fuckers in on the outer edge instead of a big socket in the middle. And them fuckers will stay in there until you take them out. They'll be in there forever. Till you grenade the fucking engine or whatever whatever the demise may be. These fucking studs are a lot better than bolts. So I paint my block, I put my plugs in, and then I test fit my tins and shit with all the studs. Make sure everything's fucking nice and flat and fits right. And I don't like surprises, so it's better to fucking go ahead and figure out if you got some tweaked ass shit early on in the build, rather than as you're trying to button it up, final assemble the motherfucker. Which I'll take this thing, put it together, and take it apart several times before I actually final assemble it. Just fucking check every goddamn thing. Got my gold CAD plated fuel pump block off. A couple more 1/4-inch fucking studs, and then gold header bolts, so it's 7/16 on all of them instead of 9/16 and 3/8, you know, or 7/16, whatever bolts you use. But this way you can use one socket on all four. Plus it just looks cooler. There's bare metal. I'll probably shoot some fucking clear on all the bare surfaces. Like all my machine surfaces, free of paint, free of any fucking thing, totally spotless, clean, wiped down with alcohol, and clean enough to fucking eat off of. Give you shit best chance for a good seal. I like black and gold, pretty good combo. VHT paint, some good shit. Been using it for years and always get good coverage, and shit never runs. It's just good fucking paint. All your machine surfaces unpainted. Got all your sharp edges and shit. Yeah, you don't want no paint where your starter bolts onto. It might affect your clearance between your starter gear and your flex plate and your flywheel, whichever you may be running. You might have to shim it on that outer edge to bring it in or some shit, but it's best just to have that surface fucking spotless. That way you got a good clean surface to go off of, and then figure out if you need a shim or not. Painted the back of the block. I'll put the back freeze plugs in when I pick it up with the cherry picker, pull the engine stand head off of it. She's fucking black. But the astute observers will notice there's no rotating assembly in here yet, because I'm still in the mock-up phase, figuring shit out, getting it ready to assemble. You don't just throw these motherfuckers together and cross your fingers and hope it works out. You better put a lot of fucking time and research and check every fucking thing 2 or 3 times and shit. So there's a lot of fucking, even I call this a low buck fucking engine, but if you went out and tried to buy one like this already built, you could buy a pretty nice used car for cheaper. Shit ain't cheap, and it'll nickel and dime you to fucking death. Just so many, and I buy all new bolts and shit, studs for a lot of shit. Just fucking, it's just better. I like my shit painted before I build it. I don't like my bolts painted. I don't like my gaskets painted. I like all my shit to be the color. If I got a blue fucking oil pan gasket, I want that fucker to be blue when it's put together. You mask these fuckers off and paint them. It's just not, it's not the same. So, but it's kind of a bitch to paint these fuckers right off the fucking bat, and not turn it into a rusty fucking mess and shit. That's your biggest fucking thing you're fighting. You gotta work fast. I like that gold shit though. I've been stuck on that shit for years. And I like chrome too, obviously. Chrome won't get you home, but gold will get you laid, or something like that. Chrome looks fucking cool too. Got something about that old gold. Let's throw back to the 70s. Back in the 70s, gold anodized and cad plated parts were the drag races. You walk around the pits and look under the hood of all the cars and shit. And you see gold shit everywhere. Gold Moroso valve covers and shit. So I've always had a soft spot for the gold shit and Moroso shit. Well, I wished I could have got me some new cast gray paint for it, but I didn't feel like waiting a fucking week. And back in the day, the auto parts stores, they'd fucking stock up on engine paint and shit, and you'd have a wide selection to choose between. But now they have black and Ford blue and Chevy orange, and that's about it. Aluminum. And new cast gray is a pretty cool color to paint them. Also like Alpine green, like Detroit diesel. Since GM built them also, it's a GM color. But it's, you don't see many people use it. Which I ain't painted one that color in a long fucking time myself, but I've built a few that were Alpine green. But a lot of times, I, like everybody else, fall into the black or orange for the small block Chevys. Because you buy a fucking crate engine from GM, that fucker's black. Or you look under the hood of any 84 and up GM fucking car, the small blocks were black. In 77 to 83, they were corporate blue, and then 76 and back, they were Chevy orange. So I always liked the Chevy orange just because it was the color they used during the muscle car era. You know, L88 427s and LS6 454s and shit were all Chevy orange. So that's kind of like a go-to color for Chevy engines, I guess. But so the last 10 fucking small blocks I've built have been Chevy orange, so I'll paint a couple black, I guess. I'll paint my wife's corporate blue since it's a 79 block. There it is. Yeah. Freshly painted budget 357 small block Chevy build I'm fucking with.